what's your sign. I mean, what constellation was the sun in at the moment of your birth? The sun sign is important because it shows our basic character traits. Over the next few months, we'll cover the whole zodiac. But for now, let's talk about the sun in the sign of Aquarius. The symbol for Aquarius is the Waterbearer, a human with a vessel in his arms pouring out the waters of the mind, the high-quality thoughts that people at their best can think. They believe in a utopia where people love each other and no one is in want or need. The earth signs might ask if any of that is possible. They say yes. And as an air sign, it's difficult to dispel their ideas because that is where their world is built. The intellect is the context in which they exist. And it is possible to live in a world focused on humanitarianism. Somebody must think these thoughts if utopia has any chance of happening. Aquarius is forward-thinking and progressive. They focus on the future because that's where progress happens. Nothing changes right now in the moment, but things can change a moment from now. Consider that the Waterbearer holds the jug and pours but doesn't get wet himself. They can be untouched by the thoughts they have, by what it means emotionally. Thoughts create the entire world, and if everyone could think a new and innovative, inclusive thought, the world could change overnight. The 11th sign is so connected to thoughts, they can't imagine how someone could not be. And all the factors that might come into play with people who want the status quo, especially the emotional ones, don't come into play with them. One of the reasons Aquarius is ahead of its time is because it has a lack of insight into human weakness. You see, they're unafraid of change, invention, and revolution, and they're truly confused by people who dig in their heels and prefer to keep everything as it is. Being a human means going high when the baser self wants to go low. So why don't people think in terms of liberty and equality for all? What they're missing is that thoughts aren't that big of a deal to other people. The ones who dig their heels in haven't done what Aquarius has done. They haven't spent their lifetime crafting a labyrinth of thoughts. In fact, many people view thoughts as fleeting and unreliable, sort of the way Aquarius views emotion. Status quo lovers believe it's a jungle out there, and Aquarian ideals would just set people up to take advantage. Maybe they don't trust like the air signs do. Aquarius trusts that the utopian matrix would bring out the very best in everyone, or that somehow there would be no way for the system to fall apart based on a few bad guys. Aquarius doesn't want to think that anyone is completely irredeemable either. One of the byproducts of so much thinking can be a lack of empathy. In truth, they aren't as fond of individuals as they are of humanity at large. And it's due to a lack of emotional connection. Aquarius likes a mind-blowing exchange of high-level ideas, but others need emotional support. People reveal their vulnerabilities to each other in order to feel close. Aquarius can give off an aloof quality in moments of vulnerability. The equality involved in sharing intimate feelings isn't the kind of equality Aquarius prizes. Their equality ideals are panoramic, not specific. You see, emotional energy can't be processed like thoughts, so Aquarius tries to push them out of the way as far down as possible. When the Aquarius in your life becomes distant, it's probably because they're feeling the stress of an emotion. They may even be feeling something too primal for their comfort. They may really want to scream or hit you. They're terribly unsophisticated, about dealing with emotion. They worry because they don't have the skills they need for a real catharsis. What are they supposed to do if the lid blows off and they don't know how to secure it again? Now add to the situation another idea. This is something they believe with all their soul. It's better to be a thinker than a feeler. They may not be afraid of watching the establishment turn to rubble. They may not be afraid of sea changes in their own lives on a regular basis, but they are afraid of the energy we call emotion. They're afraid it'll course through their body and make them do irrational things that they won't be able to explain. The irony is that the air signs are actually rather sensitive and have a complex emotional nature. Emotion brings us very close to ourselves. Aquarius fears being self-centered or being referred to as selfish. It conflicts with their focus on equity. You can find this dilemma in their intimate relationships. They aren't emotionally spontaneous, and that can cause the relationship to be stunted for them. But they feel comfortable in giving, because they know that's an ethical thing to do. It is by all standards good. Therefore, you'll find them doing unbelievably self-sacrificing things, sometimes reaching the point of mind-boggling. It's simpler than delving into their subjective emotional reactions or the emotional nuances a relationship demands. Emotional intimacy cannot be created when this is the case, and the relationship for an Aquarius can feel limited. They end up in a situation where they're giving a lot and feeling unfulfilled while the partner complains about their aloofness. It's getting kind of tricky to be an Aquarius, and we're just coming out of the gate. As we get closer to the end of the zodiac, the signs become more complex, and this is the 11th out of 12. It's influenced by two planets with opposite personalities. One is Uranus, a world so eccentric it spins on its side with its equator and rings sticking up in the wrong direction, while its moons move backwards. This planet gives Aquarius its rebelliousness, unusual ideas, love of advancement, interest in technology, need for revolution, and focus on the future. However, Aquarius is also ruled by Saturn, the most conformist, normal, tradition-loving, respectable force of the zodiac. How do these two influences work side by side in the same psyche? As an Aquarius friend of mine said, we're complicated motherfuckers. Within each of them, a process goes on that you might call a unification of opposites. They end up being hybrids. They can take on the chaos of mutiny with a great deal of self-discipline. They can invent something no one has ever thought of before, using a fixedness of thought that should quash all creativity. They'll shake up the system using crushingly tedious techniques. The one thing you always find in Aquarius is a curious intellect that is bound up in ideals. You find a person who is constantly in forward motion and yet rigid as all get out. This odd mix gets Aquarians the reputation of being weird. Now we can discuss the strange patchwork of shadows found in this sign. The first comes from its rigidity. It happens when an Aquarian has ideals so strict, there's no possible way he can live up to them. This is usually where the pessimistic Aquarius is found. The bar is so high, there's no hope. One of the shadows is intensely self-centered. He's consumed by his own thoughts with no real concern for humanity on whose behalf he's supposedly working. Another is the sad Aquarian who is so restricted by his own ideas about what others will think that he's pushed to go against his own principles? How about the Aquarius who's so overly focused on the whole human race that individuality vanishes? This shadow desperately craves center stage where it can be a special and unique individual, only it's usually not good at being on stage and not entirely comfortable there. Yet another dark trait is hypocrisy, the most common shadow of all. This water-bearer goes on ad nauseum about equality, but doesn't follow that concept in her own personal life. Everyone's equal until it comes to her husband. One of the myths for Aquarius is a simple one that focuses on a titan named Prometheus. Jupiter, king of the gods, doesn't want mortals to have fire because they might become creative. Prometheus finds this view inherently unfair, so he steals fire from the heavens and gives it to humankind. It appears to be a noble action because Prometheus expects no personal advantage from his act. He feels only that he must increase the potential of a race of people who could advance with a little help. The gift of fire is a selfless pouring of light, hope, radiance, and warmth that brings humans a little closer to actualization. Prometheus ends up paying for his rebellion, so we must conclude that there is a cost to all the emphasis on wide-scale equality. Each Aquarius has to figure out what that cost is on an individual level. However, this story shows the best face of the water-bearer. It doesn't matter how much Aquarius gets kicked around or betrayed or disappointed. A high ideal always seems to endure. Thank you for watching Secrets from an Astrologer's Desk, the personality profiles, Aquarius. I'm Joy. More videos to come.